Look, the biggest podcast where you can learn them lessons. Line for line where you can learn from different sections. Made it out the mud, come tell your story, blessings. Never know who listening, never know who stressing. Devon gave you a voice, come speak your honest truth. Line for line, go bar for bar, it's up to you. Wanna talk sports, gov, and politics? Wanna talk about where you from and your accomplishments? The Line for Line is really where you need to be. A platform that's really made for folks like you and me. You can find it all no matter what you seek. Whether you calling or you listening, tune in every week.
All right, we are back in another very special episode. I have a very special guest in the building. I got my good guy Lester in the building. Lester, how are you today?
Doing good. How about you?
Man, I am super nervous. This is like the first episode in the new spot. You know,
I'm in studio.
Yeah, my heart's still beating right now. I feel like my throat's dry right now. I'm going to take a sip of my water really quick.
No, man, the studio's nice, man. You got a good setup here going on, so it's good stuff here.
I'm so sorry. I'm just like super nervous right now, bro. Like seriously, I'm like trying to capture my breath right now. Seriously, thank you for being like the first in studio guest, man.
Cool.
So just tell me something good on this Saturday morning.
It's nice weather out there in Kenosha, so it's that's always a good plus. It's been rainy the last few days, so
yes, sir.
That's the positive. Especially if we're about to talk Bears, talk about the positive we can get.
Well, at least it's Halloween time right now, so if we're gonna talk Bears, it'll get spooky. So we're in the theme of it, you know. So we could dive right into it. What is up with the Chicago Bears right now, sir?
It's that offense. You know, the offense just hasn't found the rhythm. I mean, it was rough under Matt Nagy. He gave up play calling after the Browns debacle, and you know, I see a lot of Bears fans on Twitter and social media in general saying they think Nagy's still secretly calling plays. That's just not how teams operate. I mean, yeah, he's got his hand involved in every now and again, but it's, you know, when you step back and you let Bill Lazor be the play caller, you got to let Bill Lazor be the play caller. So that's what it is. But I think this just kind of shows that Bill Lazor's not the guy either. I mean, he's fine, but you know, like I tell people, it's like my favorite thing about Bill Lazor is he's not Matt Nagy. So, you know, they haven't found a good rhythm. Justin Fields been struggling. The pass protection's been struggling. They can run block, but they just haven't found a good way to get a good rhythm to where the passing plays, the play action passes, marry what they want to do with the run game. It's just not a good match right now. And there's time. I mean, they can turn around. The Niners aren't the best team. They're only 2-4 right now. So maybe they get things going here in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready would you say Justin Fields looks out there?
He's ready enough. I mean, you know, he's a rookie. So, I mean, you got to go, 5, 6 if you're going to scale 1 to 10. The thing with him is we're kind of seeing why the Bears didn't want to rush him out there is because, like I've said all along, when you got a rookie quarterback, the first thing you have to understand is how you're going to protect the rookie quarterback because he's not going to know all the blitz pickups. He's not going to know, how to set the pass pro at all time. He's seeing stuff new for the first time. Yeah, he's been playing at a high level through Ohio State, and he was doing it there. But that's a different animal coming to the NFL. These things, the things happen quicker. The blitzes, the pass pro. This is all he has to have an understanding of. And Louis Riddick was on a few podcasts, a few radio spots, preseason, talking about the same thing that, until he understands the pass protection fully, they shouldn't play him. He kind of got forced into action early because of the injury to Dalton. And, obviously the Browns game, he got sacked 9 times. That's not
that
all
looked
on him.
Horrible. Yeah,
that's the scheme. If he's not getting help from his coaching staff as far as the pass pro, that's a really tough ask. I mean, he's a rookie. He's not expected to do all of it, but he's getting better. I mean, he has. There's been times where we've seen him recognize blitzes he didn't recognize earlier, so he's growing. But that's the one drawback with playing a rookie is they're going to take sacks.
Yeah. Now, that's what I tell a lot of people as well, too. Like, with him being a rookie, you obviously have to go through the growing pains. You'll have to go through the mistakes, and you'll have to go through him learning as he goes, And I tell people this all the time. When's the last time the Bears have had an offensive coordinator or just an offensive group that can develop a quarterback, or when have they ever had a quarterback to develop, So, obviously, we're seeing that right now with Justin Fields, and like you said, it's not all on him. A lot of it's on the scheme as well, too. But I think the biggest issue that he faces is that offensive line. Just tell us a little bit about what you see on that offensive line that is making the season go the way it's going now.
it's the pass protection. They're just struggling in pass pro. Like Cody White here at left guard seemed to have regressed a bit. I'm not sure if it's due to him, being focused in on a fairly new position because, earlier in his career, he was a center.
Mm-hmm.
He played some left guard last year towards the end, and, he seemed to thrive in it. But, maybe he's just trying to get used to having a new left tackle next to him, a fairly new center next to him. But he seems to have regressed. He's had some moments in pass protection where he just looks lost. So,
Mm-hmm.
Jason Peters at 39 years old is probably their best offensive lineman right now, and this guy was fishing like 2 months ago. So.
Yeah, and they still are down Jermaine Ifedi, correct?
Jermaine Ifedi is still on injured reserve. They should get Larry Borum, a rookie tackle back. He is on IR. He was activated to practice this week. This is Saturday we're recording this, so at some point today he may actually be activated to the active roster, so that'll help him. Elijah Wilkinson at right tackle just came off the COVID list yesterday, so he'll be back to play. So. They've had some injuries along the front. There's some issues there, but overall, it's just not a good pass blocking. But again, I want to go back to the scheme. We're not seeing the coaching staff help enough. There's not enough. Max protect.
Mm-hmm.
They're not keeping an extra blocker in enough. We've seen them do it, but not nearly enough to help out a rookie quarterback.
Yes,
and that to that extent, a rookie tailback in Khalil Herbert with, like we saw last week with the Buccaneers, they were blitzing away from where Herbert was set up as a way to test the rookie backfield. And, the Bucs are a pretty good coach defense, and,
mm-hmm.
and they were getting through.
Yes, sir. Well, how much of it would you say is it on training for Mustafa with his fumbling of the snaps? Like, what do you think it is? Like, is it something that he's not seeing? Is it just the way he's grabbing the football? What would you say it is?
We just had Olin Kreutz on one of our podcasts this week, Bears Banter,
mm-hmm.
On the WCG podcast. He talked to our guy, Bill Zimmerman, and Olin Kreutz has been training Must for the last few years. He's trained him going all the way back to his time in Notre Dame. And Olin tells us that he's really making strides as a center. He's an undrafted free agent. You have to kind of look at who he is at this point in his career. Yes, he's an undrafted free agent, but this is his second year now starting. As far as the fumble snaps, it's just usually when there's a poor exchange, it's the quarterback's fault.
Mm-hmm.
But as we saw on the film, on the replay, the ball never got up. So I think he just kind of was dragging it. Sometimes that's mental. You're just kind of thinking through things too much as a center. You really got to think about that snap. I mean, it seems like it's second nature, but, maybe he was more concerned with a guy like Vita Vea, at defensive tackle,
mm-hmm.
and he just didn't get the ball up. I mean, those mistakes happen. You don't want to see it, but it happens.
Yeah. So now, as we know, we're 3-4 right now, heading into San Fran. Where could you see this offensive ceiling being? Where can you see it going?
Well, Justin Fields feels they're close, and I mean it's possible. Of course the players are going to say they're close. They never want to say anything negative about what's going on, but I mean it's possible. I mean there's too much talent on this team. There's too much speed in Goodwin and Bird and Mooney. We just haven't seen them able to unlock that. And a lot of, again, I keep going back to the scheme. A lot of it is just they're not finding a way to get these guys open.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many stagnant routes where it's comeback routes, it's cooks, it's curls, not enough crossers,
mm-hmm.
Not enough pick plays to get these guys open off on the edges. So at some point it'll click. And Justin Fields said, again, part of it goes back to Fields didn't get the number one reps till like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe hindsight tells us that the Bears probably should have, let him play with Mooney and Robinson and Cole Kmet, early in camp. But this wasn't the Bears' plan. They wanted to keep him on the bench as long as possible. He got forced into action early.
Yes, sir.
And now we're kind of seeing some of the problems that he has because he's just not comfortable playing with these players. He doesn't know them to where he should know them yet.
Exactly. And we've seen the issue with Robinson speaking out on that as well, too, saying that he would have liked to get the number one reps with them as well, too. But as a loyal fan and as an intelligent man, how much would you say is really on that and just versus them just stinking the place up?
To me, I look at the film and I just don't see enough help being given to Justin Fields from my coaching staff. I mean, I was pretty down on the coaching staff last year. I thought they probably should have, made a change. Obviously, the Bears decided to bring him back,
mm-hmm.
and it was fine early, but then we quickly saw the whole thing spiral again. And I just don't have a lot of confidence. Matt Nagy, he's not the guy. I mean,
oh no,
I was for the hire. I liked it, but you had to go back and look at his whole body of work, and he was fine that first year. He had Brad Childress in the building, who was a veteran play caller.
Mhm.
Maybe he leaned on him a little bit that season. The next year, Childress was gone. We kind of saw the offense. He tried taking it to level 202, is what he would always say in the media, and that didn't work. I mean, the offense with Mitch that second year took a step back. It took an even a further step back last season, and then here we're seeing it this year. He's got Dalton, he's got Fields, quarterbacks he seemingly wants. And the Bears have the 30th, 32nd ranked offense again.
Yeah, and it's just not working. So how much longer do you see them giving Nagy to fix things?
With the Bears, they've never fired a coach in season. They don't give that vibe that they're going to fire a coach in season. You've heard them talk about in the past how they really respect what a team like this Pittsburgh Steelers have done, how they get their guy in, they stick with him through thick and thin, and eventually, they win championships. I mean, that hasn't happened in Chicago. So like what's the point of sticking with the guy that yes, he's winning games. Technically, he's like 7-8 games over 500 in his career. But the last 2 years were 500. This year looks like another 500 year. They're mediocre.
Extremely.
At some point, is mediocrity acceptable? If it is, then you keep bringing it back and hope it works. If it's not, you make a change. Unless it goes drastic this year, I see them lasting the whole season.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, before we jump sides to the defensive side of the ball, excuse me, what could you see them becoming by the end of the season? Knowing that obviously it takes time to gel. Justin Fields is learning as he's going. What could you see them being by the end of the season?
I mean, they found their identity. They want to run the ball. Jason Peters, like we said, is a pretty good tackle still, even at this age. James Daniels is playing pretty good football. The right tackle, whether it's Wilkinson or even Bourne or even Fetty, they're pretty good at run blocking. They got to just keep that identity going on. They got Herbert, a rookie.
Phenomenal. No one expected him.
He looks so good right now. Montgomery will be back at some point. He looks good. Williams looks good at tailback too. So they have 3 quality tailbacks.
You forgot to mention your guy Cohen.
There was some video of him. Tariq Cohen was doing some work on the side, so he's still on the PUP list. I mean, at some point he'll come back, and if the knee is right, I mean, he'll add something. He'll add some juice to that offense. So,
you think so?
I mean, he's shown it in the past, unless the knee injury really has sapped some of that quickness from him. But it was an ACL. There may have been a secondary procedure done. No one really reported on it for sure. There's a lot of speculation because it's taken longer than most ACLs take. Like I think it was a year, early September. So now he's a year and a month past the surgery. So, I mean, they got a pretty good group of tailbacks, pretty good blocking offensive line for the run game. They just got to figure out how to get the passes off. They got to figure out how to protect Justin Fields. Like the West Coast offense was what this is based in. If you read any books, Bill Walsh, way back in the day, the father of the West Coast offense, what he always talks about is the first thing you do, how to protect a quarterback. That has to be the first option because you can't pass unless there's any protection. So the fact that that's the fundamental flaw in this offense is pretty bad right now. So at some point they'll figure it out because I just can't see the professional coaching staff being this. I don't want to say stupid, but man, it's just it's criminal. Not running enough play action. Not having an extra guy in, not having your backs chip and release. There's just not enough of that. So at some point, you hope that this offense can keep evolving as a run game, but then mix in more effective play action passes, more rollouts, more bootlegs, more half field reads. Keep things as easy for the quarterback as possible while the run game is still clicking, and then at some point, the pass game should catch up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now we can transition over to the defensive side of the ball. Who might I add? They're not doing that bad. They're not doing that bad. Only thing I can say is I was really high on Jalen Johnson starting the season, and I'm still high on him as well too. But you can see that he does have flaws as well too. He's just not a perfect corner, if that makes sense.
I mean, if you're looking for a Darrelle Revis type of guy, there is no such thing as Jalen Johnson Island.
Yeah,
he's a good corner. he'll get better in time, but he's still a second-year pro. And then the way that the rules have changed in the NFL, I mean, everything is geared towards the offense. So the fact that he's having as much success as he is, that's kudos to him. But he's clearly the Bears' best guy in the secondary, and I think he's fine. I think he'll be okay here. I think that as the defense grows, he'll grow with it, and he'll keep this ascension up. And he is probably a top 10 corner in the league right now. So he's getting there.
His numbers do pretty well. What's your thoughts on the Khalil Mack injury, the foot injury?
Yeah, it's a foot. I think at some point earlier in the year, it might have been an ankle. He's just, he's always got a little something that he can fight through.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, he fought through it for a few weeks. He was still picking up sacks. Last week against the Bucs, he didn't really do much. He was pretty ineffective. So I'm sure the Bears went back, looked at the tape, probably talked to Khalil. They said, hey, let's shut it down. So he's officially ruled as out for the game. I'm guessing at some point today they're going to put him on injured reserve, which means he'll be missed at least 3 games. So with the Bears bye week mixed in there, he'll be back in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
if he goes on IR today.
Gotcha. And don't forget, we also get Quinn back tomorrow. Is that correct? Off of the COVID list?
Yeah, he came off the COVID list yesterday. So he's got like 5 sacks this year. He's having a great year.
Yeah,
he looks like the guy the Bears signed. I mean, they paid huge money to him a couple years ago. And,
yes,
definitely. And last season he just looked bad, and he didn't make a lot of excuses, but he was on the report for injury. I think they called it a drop foot. I'm not sure the medical diagnosis there what that is, but it was obviously pretty bad because he did not look like the guy we see now.
He stunk the place up.
His speed off the edge, his bend around the tackles, he looks like the guy the Bears signed.
Yes, sir.
So as long as he's not have any of his strength sapped from being on the COVID list, I mean, I'm not sure if obviously with COVID it affects everyone differently. Maybe it was just a false negative. Who knows what it was at this point? But he was out for a game. Hopefully he's good enough to play, and because they're going to need him, especially with Mac out.
Exactly. What would you rate their overall grade for the defensive line? That you've seen so far.
Yeah, the front 7 is pretty good. I mean, they're a solid B right now.
Yeah.
They struggled a bit last week against stopping the run against the Bucs, but the Bucs. I mean, that's Tom Brady and the Bucs. I mean, it's like, do you really have to focus on stopping the run? And what are you going to let a guy like Brady just go off on you?
Exactly.
So I mean, that is such a multifaceted offense. They can do everything against the Bucs. They do everything, obviously. So we'll see how they do this week. It's not the same quality of offense you're facing this week. So I think the Bears defense should be fine even without Khalil Mack this week.
Yes. Now, what's up with your guy number 97? Because he's out there causing just all these issues for us, costing stupid plays. And let's just say we were to make the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Is that something you want someone doing on your team while you're in the playoffs fighting for a championship?
And Mario Edwards Jr. had, I think, 3 unsportsmanlike type penalties in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He had none last week. Last week it was Bilal Nichols got popped with the unsportsmanlike.
With the punch, like, what are you doing?
He's like Ryan Jensen for the Buccaneers. He's one of these. he's like an a-hole. I mean, that's his thing. I mean, that's what he does. He gets under your skin. He's one of these old school nasty offensive linemen that does things, to the whistle. He may take a few extra jabs in or at you when he's playing too, because that's what he wants to. He wants to get you, off your game, and it worked. We saw it happen in the first quarter. He blocked. Eddie Goldman a little bit, right up to the whistle, and Goldman kind of retaliated, but he didn't punch. I mean, what's the point? I mean, they're wearing helmets, you're throwing punches, you're going to hurt yourself. You're not hurting him with a face mask. So.
But they look cool though, don't they?
Yeah. It's just crazy. It's just, poor discipline, but, again, the coaches got to get on him and tell him, hey, keep your cool. And it's funny because much like in the Saints game when they had Gardner Johnson,
CJ Gardner Johnson. Yep.
He's the same kind of player, and they warned him before the game. Hey, he's going to do something. He's going to say something. He's going to get in your face. Don't retaliate. Same thing with the Bucs. Jensen is that guy. He's going to do something. He's going to say something. He's going to go to the whistle. Don't retaliate. What happens? Bilal retaliates, gets kicked out of the game.
Stupid. What do you think of the play from the linebackers?
It's pretty good. I mean, if you want to talk about the linebackers, you're also talking about the edges. Mack and Quinn have been good. Travis Gibson has been solid this season.
He is a player to watch. Yeah. Oh my gosh. When he comes in the game, I'm like, let's go. Let's see him be productive. Like, that kid's a stud. He's going to be something good.
Well, I mean, the Bears really valued him. They traded up for him. I think he was a 4th-round pick. They traded the 4th to move up to get him, I think, from the previous season. So they believed in him. He didn't do much last season where he was transitioning, though. He played defensive line, 3-point stance at college at Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
So coming to the NFL, he had to learn how to play a 3-4 outside linebacker. So it's going to take him time.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that. He put the work in. He's changed his body. He's in great shape. He's got good speed off the edge, good power. So, he's there. And then the inside linebackers, I mean, Roquan Smith, man, he's just one of those guys you
play lights out.
He, when you watch him on the game, you always know where Roquan is. So
Mm-hmm.
he plays with that speed, intensity. He's all around the field. So he's fun to watch. And then you got Ogletree and Danny Trevathan is back now.
I saw him in the game last week.
It's those two are fine. There's nothing special there. But as far as linebackers go, man, it's Roquan. He's having a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type season.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now we spoke a little bit on the secondary already. With speaking of Jalen Johnson, but what do you think about the secondary, man? Because I'm kind of iffy about the secondary.
There's a lot of people that are really down on Eddie Jackson. He's not doing much to help himself with some of the comments he makes.
Everybody could tackle that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
everybody could tackle.
Like taken out of context, you hear that, you're like, what an idiot. Why would he say that? What he was, the context behind that quote was, as a defensive back, it's all about interceptions, forced fumbles, takeaways. That's what he was trying to express.
Mm-hmm.
Saying anyone could tackle. Of course, that's the soundbite everyone wants to hear. So he sounds like a dumbass saying this. Like, what are you doing? But then, he actually doubled down on it a couple times. He got into it with Lance Briggs on Twitter. So it's like, at some point you're doing more harm than good. But as far as him in the passing game, yes, we haven't seen the interceptions. They're not there. He has had some tackling issues this season, which kind of creeps up. But he's still quality in coverage.
Yeah.
He's still back there. He's still a guy that teams try to avoid. He had a couple close near picks against the Bucks. He's around the ball still. He's just not finishing. Much like we talk about with the edge rushers, they got to get home. He's not getting home either with the picks.
And it's so crazy when he it looks like he's just unmotivated when he goes to tackle though, because he's just missing all these tackles. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Is it positioning or he doesn't want to get hurt? What do you think it is?
Some of it may be him making a business decision. He's not a physical. He's not a thumper.
Yeah.
So for him, he's like, well, I don't want to tackle. It's and that's part of it is, he wants to take the ball away. So. But that's part of your gig.
Yeah.
You got to tackle, you got to wrap. And, we just, his technique's not the best, but, a lot of safeties are like that. And, there's not the old school like it was back in the old days where there's one guy that was just a big mauling thumper,
Mm-hmm. Mike Brown.
Yeah. These days, they're all free safeties. They're all running around. You want to catch the ball. When it comes to tackling, that's not really what they want to do. But he did have 11 tackles last week.
It was balling.
Maybe he's starting to come around, and hopefully him being on the ball more will lead to some more interceptions.
I think we missed that a lot in Amos, like that safety that can come down and make those hits, And obviously Amos made Jackson look better, because he gave him that creativity that he can be and be his own player out there, But obviously we don't have that now because Tashawn Gibson isn't on Amos's level, and Tashawn Gibson has been battling injuries all year as well too. So it's kind of hit or miss. But I will say this about the secondary though: they're not as bad as what I thought they would be, because I was like, oh, we lost Kyle Fuller. We don't have that name for number 2, So yeah, what do you think about that?
Kendall Vildor has been decent. I mean, he's nothing special. He's a physical player. He'll get in your face. He wants to play, a physical brand of football. He's still kind of learning on the job. And Nickelback, they kind of bounced around. I think they've had 3 different guys start at nickel so far. I thought Duke Shelley had kind of settled in and had that job, but then a couple weeks back they put in Xavier Crawford in that nickel role. So we'll kind of see. Duke was back again last week against the Bucks.
Good morning, Devon.
Oops, sorry. We had our caller call in already as well. Hey, how are you doing, Mama Bear?
I'm doing great, Devon. Lester, how are you guys?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy Saturday morning.
Yes, ma'am. So you called at the perfect timing, right as we're getting ready to predict what we think will happen for this Sunday's game. So we can go ahead and let you start by telling us what you think is going to happen against San Fran.
Oh, wow. I'm always optimistic, of course, about my wonderful Bears.
Mm-hmm.
So I do predict a win for us, not just because Coach Nagy isn't going to be on the sideline, but because I think we can beat the 49ers.
Yes, sir. What do you
I
think about
really
that,
do.
Lester? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with her. I mean, I think this is a game the Bears can win. With or without Matt Nagy, it was announced today that he will not coach. He's still in the COVID protocol, so that's interesting. It'll be Chris Tabor calling the shots. So yeah, I think they have enough. They have enough talent. They have enough on offense, just enough on offense, and then on defense, I think they'll be able to shut down Jimmy Garoppolo.
So we'll ask you first, Mama Bear. What type of scoring game do you think this will be?
Ooh, I try not to predict scores. But for you guys, I will. I'm going to say 21-17.
Oh, wow. What do you think of that, Lester?
21 points for the Bears. They haven't done that. If you add up the last 2 weeks, they haven't done that. No, but I agree. I think 21 is something they can do. They should be able to move the ball a little bit. You know, they're gonna run the ball. That's what they want to do. And hopefully this is the week that the play action pass kicks in a little bit. And at some point, some of these speedy receivers are going to catch the ball and be able to make a play. So,
oh man,
21 is
Mooney.
worse.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lester.
No, that's fine. Yeah, but if you see Mooney, you were saying
Mooney's going to have a touchdown.
there it is.
Yeah.
So is Juice.
Oh, let's go.
And I'm going to throw this out there. Justin will have a touchdown
Yay.
himself. Run it in, baby. Run it in.
Yes. How do you think the defense will look, Mama Bear?
Oh, I'm worried.
Uh-oh. What worries you the most?
Without Mac, without Hicks, Robert Quinn's back.
Yeah, that's a big step.
Oh, man. When I read that on Twitter yesterday, made my day, made my weekend. Let's go.
Yeah.
So with Quinn back, I think we're going to do okay. I think we can get to Garoppolo. I really do.
Oh, yes. I like that.
Quinn is going to be so hungry after being out.
Yeah.
So he's ready. He was showing us all just exactly what he can do when he's healthy.
Yes, ma'am. And like Lester was saying earlier, that's the guy that the Chicago Bears paid. And from what it looks like, it's starting to pay off.
Yes, it is. Finally.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Well, we greatly appreciate you having time to give us a call and give us your intake on these Chicago Bears, Mama Bear. Just know that it's always bear down and you're always welcome on Line for Line.
I love my Bears fam. Thank you very much for asking me.
Yes, ma'am. You have yourself a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bear down.
So I think we got it. We got it from Mama Bear herself. The Bears are going to win this game, huh?
I mean, I think they can do it. I think 21 points is doable. And they may, maybe a field goal in there. He's 24, but Garoppolo is he's a decent quarterback, but he's had his ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game the Bears, even though Vegas has them losing, the Niners are a 4-point favorite, which is the Bears a road underdog is pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to look at the facts. Facts are the Bears' offense has looked pretty bad. It's pretty much a laughingstock around the league. This has to be the week things start clicking, and if that happens, I mean, it's weird to think that a 3 touchdown games is an explosion, but the way this offense has looked, if they get 3 touchdowns, that's a big deal.
Now, if they were to go on and win this game as we get ready to close out, what does that say about the trajectory of their season?
I've said all along, I think this is a 500-ish team. I mean, they're going to be right around there, 9-8, 8-9, somewhere in that realm.
Playoffs, yay.
With the NFC, I mean, the NFC is top heavy. That 7th seed, just like the Bears last year snuck in at 8-8. I think 9-8, 8-9 could get them in. It's probably going to come down to them and the Vikings, and they get the Vikings twice late. So if they can put it on the Vikings, maybe. But here we're talking about the Bears this week. If they get a win here, they're 500. Then they got the Steelers, next week, and the Steelers are,
a dismantled team.
They're not the Steelers of old. I mean, it's the quarterback play is they still have Ben Roethlisberger, but he's not the guy he was.
Mm-hmm.
The defense is still there, but it's not the same defense as it has. They've been up and down. So if the Bears win that game, and all of a sudden they're 5-4,
mm-hmm.
and it's like 4.
They're 3-4 now.
Yeah.
So then obviously
5-4.
Yeah,
going into the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course you got the Ravens coming out, and it's going to be tough. But again, 500-ish. This is why I think you're going to keep Nagy, because I just can't see them being so bad where they have to make a change.
Yes, sir.
My big concern is if they're around 500, if they sneak into that last playoff spot or just miss it on the last day, is that enough to keep Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace for one more year? I think it probably is.
So tune in to next week of Dragon Ball Z to find out more. It's definitely been a great time having you on, Lester. I appreciate you for coming through.
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
Made it out the mud, come to you calling, or you listening, tune in every week. Line for line. Oh yeah, I'm going line for line.